See the OWC homepage? Looks good? Okay. So I just wanted to get everyone oriented with how to find the calculator in the first place. So if you're on the OWC homepage, it's right now saved under the action header. So just scroll down there and click on Ecosystem Services Calculator. That's going to pull you up to a landing page, which has a lot of great information and context. I'm not going to go through everything in depth today because I want to get into the calculator, which I know everyone's excited to see. But just so everyone's aware, this landing page does have an introduction about why the calculator was developed, what went into it, funder acknowledgement, and some links to additional resources if you're curious. So I'd encourage everyone to tinker around here, but this does have drop-down sections to learn more about who this calculator is appropriate for, definitions of those services, how to interpret the results, as well as those limitations of the calculator. So we want to make sure everyone's aware of what the limitations are, what this is useful for, and maybe what it is useful for. So this landing page does have the launch button at both the top and the bottom, so you can get to the calculator when you need to. I do just want to also acknowledge this feedback survey call out here. So as Shannon mentioned, this will automatically pop up on your screen after a few minutes. But if you did want to just immediately click on it, you are able to provide feedback. And that is really, really helpful for the OWC, as well as for us as folks who work in this space to understand what your needs are, what you're liking, and what could be improved. All right, so let's click Launch Calculator. So this will pull up a new web page here, where at the top, we have some additional links to that instructions landing page. We also have an additional data source document. So we know many folks are curious, what is that literature that Amy's talking about? What are those citations? So if you click that button, it's an additional report to provide more information on the data that's being fed into this calculator. So as you're having conversations with decision makers or using this in different ways, you may be curious to click on that document. We also do have another reminder here that it's always good to check out the limitations of the calculator before you go and use this in different ways, just so you're using it appropriately. So that is linked there as well. And one other thing to draw your attention to is these little eye circle icons. So as you hover over those eyes throughout the calculator, it has information, descriptions, definitions throughout. That way, all the information you need is in one place. So we're trying to keep it as user-friendly as possible. So I do have a couple examples that I wanted to work through with everyone today, but just to kind of show you how these pieces hang together. The first step is asking about riparian area. So this is a step. If you've got riparian, you need to do something here. If you don't have riparian in your project or your study area, you can just disregard that one and proceed directly to step 2. As Amy mentioned, this tool is based on land cover area. So you can select hectares, square kilometers, or acres, depending on what your preference is. And you'll be asked to input those areas here to help with this valuation. After you insert areas, you can then select the different services you're interested in seeing values for. And then this will automatically populate those results. So I wanted to work through 2 quick examples just so people can see how this is used in different contexts in different ways. So our first example is more of an urban area. This has riparian in it. It also has some population close by. Our second example is a rural example. It's got some wetlands, not as much population density, but these are similar area sizes, but just different land cover types. So we're going to start off with the urban example. So I'm back on the calculator. And as I mentioned, my urban example does have riparian in it. I've got 15 hectares of riparian area in this hypothetical example. Because I've inserted a value in this box, it does prompt me to insert the type of riparian vegetation cover. And as Amy mentioned, this is going to allow us to actually get values for these areas. So in my example, this riparian area is made up of 80% of forest and 20% of shrubland. So once I've entered those and this totals to 100%, I no longer have that red text telling me to insert information here. I know I've got everything covered. I then proceed to step 2, which asks me to add the rest of the areas and the land cover types to make up the total. So I've already covered riparian. I'm not going to double count riparian. I'm going to focus on the non-riparian areas. So I have 75 hectares of forest, 200 hectares of grassland, 15 of open water, and 55 of shrubland. So in this example, I don't have any wetlands, so I'm just leaving it blank. I don't need to do anything with that. I scroll down and I see the calculator has automatically selected all of the services for me. So that's really handy. I don't have to go through and click everything. However, if I was interested in toggling things off and on, I can click clear all and it removes all the selections, or I can select all. I can also toggle things on and off just like this if I do want to get more granular for specific services and specific land cover areas. So the tool's done all the work for me. It selected all of this different services, so I don't have to do anything there. Steps 4 and 5 are these optional steps that Amy also spoke about. So for the sake of this project, I don't have any volunteer education components. I'm really just curious in what the value of that area is of those services. So I'm not going to do anything with step 4 and 5 for this example. Based on the selections, I can see that this value summary has already done all the work for me. So I can see annually how much of these different ecosystem services, how much value is being provided by each of the different land cover types. And as Shannon mentioned, that great survey will automatically pop up. So I'm reminded to provide my feedback. So you can just scroll through those questions, click done. If you're not ready to do it yet, you just exit it out and then you can access it there on the right. So I can see this value summary, which is great. Some folks do like to tinker a bit more. So you are able to click download and actually get a spreadsheet of all those values if you want to play with that in different ways and dig into that more. And these graphs here, these do just automatically generate based on the selections. And importantly, at the top, this is the one that tells you that total annual value. So that's just right at the top there. It's hard to miss. Right now, the best way to get these graphs sort of out of the tool is just to take a quick screen snip. But again, because you're able to download those values in a spreadsheet, you are welcome to do that and create additional graphics if you wanted to do so. So that's my urban example. I am going to do my rural example with wetlands. So I'm just going to click reset all selections. That deletes everything for me, so I don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to proceed with my rural example. So this one is also in hectares. In this case, I have 100 hectares of forest, 20 of wetlands, and 220 of grassland. I don't have any riparian in this example, so I'm leaving that blank, and I'm not getting any error messages, so everything's good. I am going to scroll down and see the services that are toggled on. I see it, some of them aren't toggled on, so I'm just going to click select all because I do want to see everything in the total value that's provided. However, as you'll remember, this is a more rural area. I don't anticipate a ton of recreation and sort of human-oriented interactions with the site. So I'm actually going to just remove those services from this example and just make sure I've got water supply toggled on properly. So the big thing with the calculator is just making sure you've got the right things selected where you want them. In this case, though, there are wetlands, and I'm hoping to do a wetland restoration project. So I'm going to click on 4, and I'm going to allocate 120 volunteer hours for this project, and it's going to generate a value for that. And I'm going to assign $15 an hour as kind of the hourly rate for that work. You're welcome to play around with that and insert the value that works best for you. I am also going to specify the investment cost. And I believe about 150,000 per hectare is what we were going to use for this example. So because I have 20 hectares, I'm going to input 3 million. Make sure I have all of my zeros here. So, all right. So I see at the bottom here, the summary is Populating properly, I can see the different service value for the different land cover types and services. I do see I've got my graphs all updating here, and I can see that I've got the social return on investment. So because this is above zero, I know that this is a strong return on investment for this work. So to kind of summarize those two examples here, because I didn't do those optional steps 4 and 5 with my urban example, I've got my annual service value, and I've got a couple graphs to support that work. With rural, because I did insert some volunteer hours, I've got a value calculated for that. And I've also got that really handy ROI value there too. So nearly $30 additional annual service value for every dollar we invest in that wetland restoration. So that's a really handy value to go out and do some advocacy work.